family was in for a treat this morning because I woke up grumpy and tired and I wanted to use food as comfort. Now, this is definitely a personal habit of mine. While I should probably be doing something like going for a long morning walk in nature or even sitting outside with a quiet cup of tea, both of those things would be grounding and comforting in themselves, definitely. For me, I decided to bake some high-protein chocolate cakes, muffins for breakfast. So one of the ways that I like to justify to myself that chocolate cake can be acceptable for breakfast now and then is that I up the protein by using almond flour as the flour, and I also cut down on the sugar content, or at least make the sugar a bit more user-friendly by swapping it out with maple syrup. Now, I always, when I'm experimenting in the kitchen, I just have a sort of standard baking ratio so that I know what works. And what works for little cakes like this is always half a stick of softened butter to, a good amount of maple syrup. I'm going to say it's half of a bottle of maple syrup. Then I'm just going to mix that together with 2 eggs in this case because I want these cakes to be a bit more on the dense side than light and fluffy. I want them to be filling and to tide us over for a while. So we get the egg mixed in as well, then just bicarb. Now I don't keep baking powder in my house. I don't know why. I guess it seems to have additives and I'm not sure that they're necessary because I do use straight bicarb in all of my home baking and it works perfectly well. So I just used 1 teaspoon of pure baking soda or bicarb soda in these, and then I'm going to add in my flour, which in this case I used half almond meal and half of the baking flour that I have at the moment, the baker's flour, and then just a bit of milk, maybe half a cup. So I just mix that all together with cocoa as well in this instance because I just wanted that chocolatey hit first thing in the morning, and I popped them into bake for about 20 minutes and I was so pleased with how they turned out. They were absolutely delicious. Honestly, I didn't miss adding sugar or coconut sugar at all. The maple syrup made it beautifully dense and filling. Now we have had a side of bacon curing in the fridge since we home butchered that pork that we got around to, 2 weeks maybe. This has been curing. And it was time to smoke yesterday, so we got the smoker set up and we smoked that for a couple of hours in the evening and then just set the bacon back in the fridge to set overnight. And now I'm going to slice this up and try this morning. Now, bacon and ham are a couple of products that I really do want to start making ourselves at home entirely, just for health reasons. I know that the curing process for commercial bacon and ham can have some real health implications and consumed, over the long term. And we do love bacon and we love ham. But even if we weren't raising our own pork, I think having the skills to turn a cut of pork into ham or bacon and cure it at home, and then even if you're not confident with it being cured to be shelf stable, just storing it in the freezer until you need to defrost it and cook it, it's just so much healthier that way. It omits those processing chemicals that the commercial products have. And I'm still tempted. I mean, at this time of year, Coles sells free-range hams in bulk, a big a ham, and the price is reasonable. It works out quite well priced. And in previous years, I would buy one of those and just slice it and store it. So it is another habit that I'm having to retrain myself away from, just to try to cut down on those things, those additives in our diet, which might have side effects that I just want to avoid. So Here I go from talking about eating a healthy diet to having chocolate cake for breakfast. Okay, look, I don't do this every day, but making some of the healthier swaps there just justified it for me. And I tell you what, sometimes you really do want some soul food, and this truly was it. The only thing missing for the only thing missing in my case was maybe some whipped cream and some strawberries. How good is chocolate cake with cream and strawberries? That has got to be one of my favorites. So with the cure with the bacon, we keep it pretty simple. We use some things we have around, like bay from our bay tree, and we probably did use coconut sugar, I think, in this one. And salt and pepper, of course. Not too much salt. It can be a real trap to make your bacon just too salty, and that will affect the texture as well. But it turned out quite nicely. Yeah, we're really happy with that. And we will be gifting some to helpers and family, and then keeping as much as we can for ourselves as well, just to pull out from the freezer as treats when the kids don't expect it, because my kids love bacon. Now the garden is growing. The tomatoes are already starting to flower, so there's a few green tomatoes growing on our little cherry tomato bushes. Do you stake your cherry tomatoes? I feel like these bushes would like a bit of staking, so that's a job I have to do over the next week or so, I think. And the potatoes are growing really well as well. So that is great to see. Now, I do have my old garlic patch here that we have harvested the garlic. So I've got another good, maybe a couple of cubic meters of garden space that I can fill. And I am thinking that I might put in a basil bed, because I do love fresh herbs. And if we are going to have the fresh cherry tomatoes coming in every day for a little while there, then being able to pair it with basil would be just delicious. And I know pesto is something that I could, basil is something that I could process into pesto pretty simply, and that will be so tasty. I do think my kids will really enjoy it, and it is an awesome way to just gussy up a plate of pasta. It's shocking to me how much fruit we have lost just from heavy winds coming through the property. And it really does give me insight into how much farmers who provide food for Australians must really feel the struggle of these seasonal, just, I mean, then it's normal, isn't it? The wind is normal. But to go out and see half of your crops just knocked to the ground and no way for you to recover from that must be heartbreaking for farmers, and such a tough loss. So, of course, for us, I mean, it's not something for me to get super upset about. I'm grateful for any fruit we can grow at home, and the pigs are grateful for any apples that fall off the trees. A tradition in my family for many years has been my mum, the kids' grandma, making homemade spring rolls for the family from scratch. Now, she worked in a very multicultural office many years ago in a big city, and one of her co workers taught her and some of the rest of the workers how to make these traditional Vietnamese spring rolls. And the only thing that we had to omit today was I think she said it was dried wood ear mushroom. we can't find that locally where we live here in rural New South Wales. But we do have our own home-raised pork mince, and we can still add the rest of the ingredients. So we decided to get together today, my mum and I. She's come over. She is guest starring here on Valley View Living, and she is going to share her spring roll recipe with us, which is super simple but absolutely delicious. And I have to tell you that every time she has made these for me, and she's been making these for me since I was a teenager and for the family, I am just such a glutton for them. I eat far too many of them, so it's probably a good thing that this is just an annual tradition around here. But I decided that because we have got quite a bit of pork mince at the moment, I wanted to try and make some wontons. I've never made wontons before, but I figured that I could probably make it simple enough so that I could manage the seasonings and whatnot, just look up a recipe and have a crack. So I'm just using our pork mince here. I have seasoned it simply with tamari and sesame oil, salt and pepper, and I am going to shred down some of this cabbage as well and mix it through, and some spring onions, and that's it. That's how simple this filling is. Now, I did pick up a couple of packs of wonton wrappers just at the supermarket. They are so cheap, and it really did strike me while I was making these that this is such a good way to stretch a meal, to turn a little bit of meat or a lot of meat if you've got a crowd to feed into a big, hearty meal. So the amount of meat that we needed was just stretched so far, and we got dozens and dozens of wontons and spring rolls out of this morning's work. Now, Mum's recipe for these spring rolls that was shared with her all these years ago, it is really simple. The pork mince, diced onion, vermicelli noodle, and shredded carrot. Now, yeah, it would traditionally have the wood ear mushroom in there as well, which I absolutely love the texture of those. So if you ever make spring rolls, let us know what is in your recipe. We would love to hear it. This has been such a fun tradition for us over the years, and I love having these homemade spring rolls. And it was super fun today because we actually fried these in coconut oil as well, which is another benefit and bonus for us, that we can have all the health benefits of using coconut oil, which I absolutely love in my cooking. And it is a very stable fat that can heat up to high temperatures and retain its stability for frying at this heat. So it turned out really well, and I thought it made them super delicious as well, crispy and just so good. Now, even though I do cook and bake a lot of sweet treats, especially for my kids and my family, and I love the act of baking, I am really someone who loves savory food. So being able to make these and have these as a snack is such an awesome treat. And I say as a snack, but these definitely ended up being both lunch and dinner on this day. It was a busy morning in the kitchen, and it was great to fry them all up at once and just have them here. We reheated some for dinner as well. It was so good. You can easily see I am a complete beginner at folding wontons. They started out looking pretty embarrassing, but as I went along, we got a little bit better, and they definitely turned out pretty well once they were all fried. Now, I love a family kitchen project like this where every able-bodied person can get their hands into the kitchen and get into a project together. It really does do the family cook's heart some good, I think, to share in a big meal like this, or meal prep, or something that goes a little further than just the usual one meal and done and dusted and cleaned up and then planning for the next one. It's just so nice to change things up a little bit. And maybe that's what I really enjoy about seasonal celebrations like Christmas. Even though, there are many things about Christmas that can be difficult or a bit confronting, like, the consumerism and the busyness around the season aren't my two favorite things in the world, but definitely getting together and having the excuse to create a feast or create different foods that you don't have throughout the rest of the year. I love any excuse for that. So this was a lot of fun in the kitchen today. Now, next time I would love to try these wontons boiled in like a chicken broth situation with some more veggies in there. That would be absolutely delicious. Or just steamed and had with that sort of freshness that you have when you're not deep frying them. And I love to have these spring rolls, especially wrapped in a lettuce leaf, just to bring a beautiful hit of freshness and veggie green goodness around the deep fry as well. And if you have access to fresh herbs like mint and basil, is it basil that's traditional? Oh, I'm trying to remember here. Maybe I'm thinking of the Thai basil, but yeah, those herbs are so good with something, fatty and deep fried. It just balances out the meal so perfectly. So thanks for coming along with us today on our kitchen project day. Thanks for keeping us company. And if you have enjoyed this content, please do like or comment or subscribe. And that way I'll see you next time. Bye.